the fact that we don't emphasize the struggle today and the benefits that you actually get from struggling at something for a very long time is problematic. And I know that there's a lot of people that think things should happen really quickly. We see things on social media all the time, how things explode overnight. But guess what? You're paying attention to those things because that they're unusual and because that we have access to everybody around the world. What you're seeing is the one person out of a million or of 10 million that actually had some sort of temporary success. And I say temporary on purpose because almost always the people that have that temporary success, it's just one little bright star that burns very bright like a supernova that's exploding in the sky, and then it disappears overnight. But what you don't see and what you don't hear about is the people that struggle at things for a long time, and it gets a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger, and that star grows a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more as they're figuring things out and they're trying to discover different things. And we don't talk about the mundane, the ordinary, the plain Jane and the plain John stuff that doesn't look like much, but that's the struggle that you actually are in, and we're carving these things out. We talk about it in such a nonchalant way, like they're just learning from experience or it's trial and error. What you don't see, though, is the fact that it is grinding. It sucks. It's hard. Nobody is ever there to encourage you. Everybody is going to be making fun of you. Any number of things. They're all going to say it's stupid. Everybody in your life is going to say it's stupid. I can guarantee it. And you know what? It's all true. It is stupid. It is dumb. It is a grind. The whole thing is dumb, right? It doesn't make sense. But the thing is the struggle that you get, the benefit that you get, no matter what project that you're doing or what thing that you're working on, no matter what it is, you are learning some really key things that you can't get by burning like a supernova and exploding over the sky. Those people that you see that explode overnight, nothing happens to them. They disappear. They're one-hit wonders. There's absolutely nothing that happens to them that has value in their life. And many of them just burn out. But you know what you don't see ever is the discussion of somebody growing something little by little, tiny, tiny, tiny. And then after 30 years, after 40 years, something great happens in their life in the morning. And it turns into something that's really, truly wonderful. You never hear that story. You don't hear about the 75-year-old that did things right and everything worked out and they were able to give a little bit back to their community. Nobody talks about those stories. Nobody talks about the stories how somebody did everything right in their whole life and they were able to give $50,000 to their kids when they passed away, or whatever little amount. They did everything right. And we don't talk about that struggle. We don't talk about the effort that's put into these things that actually is the key things to a lot of success. We focus on these sort of bright, fancy things that virtually happen to nobody. Nobody. It's like winning the damn lottery. Who the heck does that happen to? And we're so fascinated with them. You know what I cannot fathom? The lottery in the state that I live in is billions of dollars. Billions. That's crazy, right? I want you to think about that. Where do you think they get that money from? They get that money from people believing the fact that they could be the one that wins that billions of dollars. They have to put more money in than they actually give away in prizes. We're so fascinated with this idea of the quick win, the exploding supernova, all of that kind of stuff. Instead, we should be focusing on the struggle, the little one step at a time, the being patient with somebody, that's the actual real story in life. That's what most people actually look like when they're successful. Doing a little tiny bit, one little day at a time. And they look back after a year, nothing's happened. Nothing. It's little tiny bits. And then they look back after 5 years and all of a sudden it's a little better than what they thought. And then after 10 years, they look back and they're like, wow, my life is fundamentally different from 10 years ago. And then they look back after 20 years or 30 years and they're like, I am absolutely different. I'm so fundamentally changed and unusual compared to that person. I can't even recognize that person. That's what the real people that are doing real things are actually doing. And yet we don't talk about them. We don't celebrate them. We don't focus on that struggle where people are just doing things incrementally, little bit by little bit, and doing the right things. And the right things are always really simple. They're knowing that they're going to push every day, do a little bit, getting a little bit of exercise, having a little bit of free time with your family and friends, doing a little bit of work, all of that stuff in moderation, all those things balanced together, just little bits at a time, little tiny bits, and balancing all of those things. And sometimes you feel like you're a little out of control in one, and so you pull back on it, and then you emphasize the other thing. And that happens day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade, and things happen at that point. Why don't we celebrate that struggle? Why don't we focus on the fact that you're actually trying every single day? You're not falling prey to all of that nonsense that's out there, that quick win crap. You know what? The real people doing real things, making real progress, they all do that little struggle thing. Everybody else, they're all getting nowhere. They're spinning their wheels. They're not figuring it out, and they don't realize it's the little bits every day, no matter what. Ignoring everybody around you that's pulling you down, cheering on people around you that you think that should be cheered on, and that's everybody, by the way. Cheering on yourself, ignoring that dark mind in your head, and just going forward and pushing with it, and nonstop every day, that little incremental thing. So I study learning, and one way that we study learning is using these things called learning curves. And the learning curve predicts how much you actually improve with experience. And you might be thinking we look at like 1 or 2 observations of experience and you should get some sort of learning. No, we look at hundreds, if not thousands, of observations of the same thing month after month, day after day, the same thing. By the time you see that pattern of learning actually happening and improvement actually happening, why would you expect anything else to change in your life quickly and rapidly? It doesn't happen that way. It's the little bits every day, making little improvements, doing little wee things, no matter what. Focus on the struggle. Quit thinking about things are going to change tomorrow. It never does.